Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season 1 finale of Revival. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we are picking up where the last episode left off, and Blaine is making his large-scale declaration about what he's going to do, closing the gate to hell because of what Ibrahim told him last episode, that M is kind of the catalyst for all of this. He's thinking like, well, if I get rid of her, if I kill her with my angel, then I'm going to end up like closing this door, closing this chapter for good. And basically it's like, oh, like I'm going to cut off the doorway to hell to this world, and everyone that came back, these demons, these revenants, will be dead. But what this sparks from is because that night on the bridge when Blaine saw the angel, which he kind of got his time frames a little mixed up, because he's like, oh, I saw it there, but he didn't see it with M, because I think he did say like when he came back, M was gone, and then I think he saw the angel. But either way, I'm actually mixing some stuff up. I'll get to that in a second. He was bringing up the fact is he saw an angel. No, he saw the light, and then he chased and eventually found an angel. The light was M, like I said, we'll get to that in a second. But the angel, it said Rose's name, and I was like, is that him just being full of BS? And it wasn't until later in the episode I was like, oh, right. Could we know who angel it was that he had captured? It was Rose's dad's angel. So of course it was saying Rose, because that's the last thing that was probably on his mind. It's basically a personification of your will and stuff like that. Because Abraham tried to tell Blaine like, yo, you're kind of full of BS. It's like you are it's confirmation bias, you're so busy trying to prove that your dad was right that you're willing to kill people because your dad was like run out of town and like ousted and shamed, and you're so desperate to restore your name that now that you have this opportunity, like you weren't as fanatical as you are now, but it's like you found that inch, and now you're taking a mile and you're running with it because you're like, yes, everything my dad said was true. People like laughed at him and ridiculed him and shamed him and blah 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 blah, but it's like it's all real and I'm gonna prove it. He's so desperate. It's just that like heavy religious hand that his father dealt him that made him into the fanatic. Like I said, when we saw him in that flashback before, during like one day, 2 years ago, during like Rose Black Deer case, that he definitely wasn't like the fanatical person that he is. But I think it's just it got reignited in him, and he saw an opportunity in front of him. But the way it's like the conversation comes up about Wanda. What did Wanda say? And then Tyler's like, it's not mine. She said it over and over again. What does it mean? And Ibrahim's like, in Islam, they believe that when you die, your soul separates from you and it kind of enters an intermediate space. The line between like life and death becomes very thin. And he's like, that's what this is. That angel wasn't, those angels are souls. They're literally the personification of each person's soul. And that wasn't Wanda's soul. That was Jesse's soul. So that's why it's like, once again, they're incompatible with each other. So that's why what happened to Wanda happened. And so it is interesting that, and this is something Blaine points out, once again, that a man of science would kind of have that perspective on things. And it's like, well, science is willingness to realize that, with new information that you can change your belief, and that's okay to, like, your understanding of something can be changed, versus Blaine, who is just so stuck in his belief and unwillingness to budge and not see anything from any other point of view. Then we had Dana and Wayne show up to try and, save the day, but then Lester shows up and is like, hey, about time you got here, and they all got captured. I was like, Jesus Christ, Lester. So he's making Blaine's like, oh, wait till my angel get here, which we know his angel isn't going to show up because it's gone because someone attacked where the angel was going to be. I guess that's where all the angels summoned, like the reason why Blaine had that spot locked down, because I think he probably thought like, oh, my angel's gone, but this is where I found you, so maybe it'll resurface here. It's like, no, a different angel popped up because his angel was gone forever because it was Jesse's soul, and Jesse's gone now. Because that was something that Ibrahim tried to get across to him too. Like, what happened to Wanda? Yeah, I saw that. But I also saw what happened when another of your angels crossed paths with someone else. It wasn't damnation like you're believing it to be with Wanda. It was actually reunion and peace. Upon hearing that M is special and that she can heal, Blaine's like, all right, prove it. He shoots Wayne. And when the time comes, M tries to heal her, but she can't. And it's like, oh, looks like you're a false prophet, yada, 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 so on and so forth. But in that moment, like the tears start flowing from her. And in that moment, she is able to heal her dad. And it showcases like, wow, this was real. And it's like, oh, but she passes out. And Abraham's like, let me save her. Like, you promise, you say you're not this bad guy, then prove it in this moment that you're not a killer. That because he says like he never laid a hand on Rose. Because that's what, no, on M, because she's still under the impression like, well, Blaine had something to do with Rose's death. We mean you most likely also have something to do with my death because it's all a large cover up too. So, but he's like, I never laid a hand on you in that regard. So you're like, okay, still trying to figure it out. Cause M did see the person who killed her. Granted, they were in like a ritual garb, but either way, Blaine wanted, he's like, I can't take a chance. Even seeing what he saw, he couldn't like, he wasn't allowing himself to like, even because in his mind it's like, I can't let the devil, persuade me with its illusions, and it's going to present itself a certain way, and that's how the devil draws you in. That type of, I think that's kind of like where he's coming from. But once again, it's his unwillingness to believe that everything he's done up to this point was wrong, that he had the wrong perspective on it. Because that's human nature. No one wants to admit that they're wrong, or at least people have a hard time admitting they're wrong. You don't want to, and especially when he's like so devout, and it would because that would mean like everything he said and everything he spouted was bullshit. It'd turn his flock against him too, and it'd just be history repeating itself, just like with his dad. So he's like, no, I have to believe I'm right. I can't falter in this. This is God testing me, But before he could do anything, the government shows up and they're like laying into the building. So luckily Wayne stayed behind while Lester's going to take M to get replenished. Dana's going to go pick up Coop and eventually meet up with them. I forgot where Ibrahim said he was going to be in all of this as well, but the general gets chewed out by the governor, understandably so, because everything was a shit show. She just kind of opened fired in this place like that. You also killed a whole bunch of civilians. It's kind of a militia thing, but it's also like, yeah, you kind of did that because you weren't ordered to do that. You kind of freestyled in that moment. And plus, on top of all that, all the revivers escape. It's like one failure after another. And even Wayne like gets in her like, pokes at her saying like, oh, you're supposed to want to clean up the mess. But then they ultimately end up tracking down one of the angels. It's Wanda's soul, which gave me the answer. I kept wondering, like, I was thinking, like, now that Wanda's dead, does her soul automatically disappear? Doesn't seem like it's the case. It stays behind, but it's in a much weakened state. Because it's like, what eventually happens to it? Because it can never be whole again. Her soul is like endlessly wandering. Like, because she's dead again. And like, there's no ever reunion of souls. So like, what happens to a reviver that's like killed in the way that Wanda was? Like, can she ever be like reconstituted and put together again? Or is, like I said, is that like completely off the table? We see that the general's like, we're not going to walk away with nothing. So they have this, then they're going to study it, and that's probably going to lead to the government being able to try and eventually weaponize this thing. We've seen how it interacts with, well, I was about to say, like, we know that it can, what it does to like those who they're the soul of, the union, and then burning those who it's not. Which also doesn't, that doesn't exist outside of just revivers. It also exists as a weapon because it can also hurt, as we see. It burns regular people too. Just anyone that's not its other half, it burns them. So they're definitely going to use that and probably also help weaponize that against the revivers if it ever becomes an issue. Like, they're always going to have that as a contingency plan, but once again, the government's going to do what the government's going to do. How are we going to profit from this and like modify it to be, weaponry and, defense and offensive forces type of situation. So, because I think they knew that, I actually don't know if they knew that Blaine, supposedly had a weapon that would kill revivers. Because jumping ahead to the end of the episode, we see Blaine is recording his radio show again, so they must have let him go because they probably didn't have anything to hold him, because they probably thought like maybe there'd be a whole bunch of revivers they'd find there, but it's like all you found was his people, and to probably cover up what you did, you probably had to bail out of Wausau. So it's like, I guess they didn't have anything that could really hold them. It's like they were kind of, I guess, defending themselves when you like strolled up and like blasted at them. So I guess that was a way around that. And it's like, we're just going to keep this hush hush and just kind of move on type of thing. I kept getting this inkling feeling like there was something up with Lester the moment like Lester was just giving her a cup of water. I'm like, aren't we supposed to be heading? But then he talks to Dana. She's like, yeah. He's like, no. There's people nearby the water. I was like, well, I mean, I guess technically could we see the general and her forces are there with the angel? But I was like, something sinister going to be up with Lester. And lo and behold, we find it out because Dana went to go see Jenny to pick up Coop. And there, like, she finds Aaron's book and is like, why do you have this? And because Aaron was studying and talking about the like healing and transformative properties of water. And then like Jenny like had a thing with Lester, and she's like, oh, it's Lester stuff. In fact, like there's a video recording of, first and foremost, it was Aaron's like a lecture or whatever. And then it hard cuts to them having filmed over it. Like one of their little sexcapades apparently, but then he has this emblem like carved into his chest, as she says it's like something Celtic, and it's like, wait, what? Lester is in the middle of all this, and he's connected to Aaron, and ultimately M makes her way over because she's drawn to her soul, and there's Lester and his guys. So we find out a lot because I was still like not understanding. I'm like, well, where does Rose play in all of this? Because I was like, M's part is understandable, but I didn't understand where Rose played into it, and then gave us clarification. I'm like, okay, so they've been searching for a way to break the mold between life and death. They believed in all of this, and they've been researching it for years. It's something that Aaron and Lester have been partners in, but Aaron wanted to cut Lester out of it and do his own thing. The reason why Blaine was called out to tow a car is because it was Aaron doing, I think, the situation was him like trying to get Lester distracted because Blaine's there to pick up the car. So it's like Lester's going to be distracted and not realize what Aaron was doing, I guess. But we also find out Aaron is, in fact, the one who killed M. It's like, wow, you are... Like, at first you're kind of like, well, it doesn't seem like you are. Maybe you just knocked her out. But he kept proclaiming like, oh, I didn't kill you. Him even being like, oh my God, you're a reviver. I'm so sorry, Em. It's like, that's some sociopathic shit. I mean, at the time you kind of assume that because you think he's a killer. But then he's like, no, he's not. I mean, it makes you wonder, was he actually going to tell Dana that he killed Em? Or was he just going to throw Lester under the bus? I'm sure it was going to be a self-preservation tactic of, oh, I'm going to destroy us both, but I'm going to more so destroy Lester. But like he killed M because he was just trying to cover his tracks. It was a win-win for him. He gets access to this energy and stuff because he wanted to use it to potentially heal his wife. Road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? So, but you're also trying to cover up the fact that you're having an affair, and M is kept pushing about the whole like whatever their situation is. So like it's like, I don't want to, because it's probably like are you going to leave your wife for me thing? And it's just like, right, like I was stupid, I was this and that. I was like, well, you took advantage of a young woman. Like, you should have had the wherewithal to be like, this is morally effed up and wrong, especially considering my wife is going through chemo, homie. That's super fucked. And then also, it's a young, impressionable young woman, like, this is wrong because I'm a professor. I shouldn't cross these lines, There's that. So it's just, you're not doing anything illegal. It's just you're doing a very scummy thing, and he's trying to cover it up like, well, I need a sacrifice. Didn't work fully with Rose, but okay, let's do this because it's a win-win. I get to help my wife while also, benefiting myself with this research and stuff and all the development. But also, I get to get rid of the one person who's a thorn in my side, and because you could ruin everything and ruin my life by revealing the fact is we had an affair. You could destroy my career and my marriage. So, and it's, so there's that. But even then, there's got to be an asterisk put with that because some stuff later on in the episode, but we'll get to it. But yeah, like Rose, they picked a random girl because Rose was alone at the bus stop, and they probably thought like maybe people would just think she disappeared and she left, and no one would ask too many questions. But her dad did, and they covered her tracks enough. So they tried to kill her, and they got an inkling of it at first when they did it, but it faded so quickly. So but this is all about eternal life. And, Lester tried to be like, well, it's not just about me. We could get rid of death all around. It's like, yes, but you are old and nearing the end of your life. And you're willing, like, so many sacrifices had to be made to get here. Like, you sacrificed two young, innocent women for nothing. But for him, it's like, oh, it's for the greater good. But yes, it's self-preservation on your part. But you disguise it as like, oh, it's for the greater good. So. And it's just like Aaron was a selfish prick that wanted to make it on his own. Doesn't make it any better, but it's like if it wasn't M, it was always going to be someone else. And because it was M, it stopped the buck there. Versus like if it was someone else, they probably would have gone over and over. Like who knows how many women would have died. Not saying it's better that M. It's just a thing of we have no idea how things would have played out and how things would have continued. Like M ended up being the buck where things stopped, but it's because she ended up being special because he's like, whatever it is about her in that moment, she's the one that broke through the door. Like, it wasn't Rose's death, it was specifically M's death that broke the door open. And she's the reason, she's a catalyst for Revival Day and everyone coming back. Because even Lester says, like, basically the Moore Creek, it's one of many special places around the world. Well, not many, but it's one of a few places around the world where the boundary between life and death is so thin. And it's just that water. That's why they kept using that water as a catalyst, because it's like we can break through that barrier in this moment. And M didn't just, he says it like, you're not just the key, you were the explosive. Because she didn't just open the door, she blew it wide open, essentially. So Lester's plan was to get her to join with her soul. It's like, you are already the catalyst, and if I can get you to kind of reunite with your soul, not fully, but kind of open that doorway, I think the plan was like to rejuvenate himself and kind of like, I don't know what the plan is in the long run. It's not quite sure, like, what he was like. It seemed like he was going to make himself like some immortal being by like absorb, like in that process of her joining with her angel, like it's almost like he interrupted the process because like it went into the water, it fused with the water, and so did she. And it's like they become like this catalyst, I guess, for like their energy is out and about, and he's grabbing it, I guess, in the process where like you combine with your soul again, just like what happened with Jordan and Jesse. I feel like maybe he's interrupting that process and drawing the energy inside of himself. It's unclear. Luckily, Dana showed up, but nothing she did was working because she was shooting him, but he was immortal now. But M was able to kill him by punching a hole through his chest and ripping out his heart. So it's like, oh, I guess he's dead, because I guess it was all like in his heart now. Like it all located itself into kind of his core, I guess his heart. And without it, the body dropped dead. But the problem is, like, all the energy that was in M, like, that's keeping her here, like, was all absorbed into him. And she's like, something's not right. And she starts, like, I guess it's maybe the inverse of what happened to Wanda, whereas Wanda was killed by a soul that wasn't hers, and we see the weakened state her soul's in, versus, like, I guess M's soul was basically absorbed in her body without her soul around, just kind of collapses or whatever, especially considering she was the bridge/doorway to all of this starting. So maybe he didn't absorb her soul, maybe she did fuse with herself, but like I said, he disrupted the process and it kind of ruptured things. Like who knows like what kind of ripple effect it had in that moment when she's like lighting up, and like when Wayne and the others get there, she's already gone. So I'm like, did her body explode or what? Dana got knocked out, so she had no idea what happened. And so we immediately skip to like another 35 days later. It seems the governor's kind of pulled people out. She's striking a deal with the people of Waso and just going forward about like, yeah, revivers having rights and stuff. Also, I should say, like, I was completely off the mark. I kept being like, I believe the governor's behind this. Like, nope, it ended up being two scientists who were like people, researchers, that being Aaron and Lester, who were looking into like eternal youth and eternal life and not having to worry about death. Once again, Aaron was trying to heal his wife. Obviously, it didn't stop you from having an affair while your wife was dying from cancer. Piece of shit, but it is what it is. You see Wassail trying to put themselves back together. Like, we don't fully know, because we didn't cut to any of the other like revivers. It's just kind of like the other, mainly our living characters, kind of dealing with the aftermath. We find out Ibrahim is now a professor because he wants to stick around so he can study more Creekmore, but also wants to stay close to Dana, even though like it seems like there's something in the future there, but with everything going on, it just seems like the timing sadly isn't right. It wasn't right before, and it just hasn't been right since, but I think given enough time, it will be, but we'll see. Dana and her dad are in a good place. Well, for one, Wayne is taking a step back from his job. To be fair, he set so much of this stuff in motion doing what he did, so it made him probably realize, yeah, I'm not the right man for this job. So one of the other deputies is taking over interim until like an election can be held, and he doesn't know if he's going to be able to win or whatever. But like Wayne needs time away, especially after everything, especially losing your daughters, because like your final words to them was like, oh, I love you, but then you came back and now Martha's gone and you never had the chance to make things right, especially later because he's talking to Dana. I didn't even think about it because like him and Dana still have not been able to work out the whole like reveal from last episode of, oh, the reason why Wayne didn't pick you up when you were trying to call your dad to pick you up after that whole fight and stuff in the bar at Nayla's, it's because he was off having an affair with Diane. And I didn't even think about it until then, where it's like, Dana has to live with that. M never knew the truth. Which like also plays into like the ending where it's like when she's about to go into the water, is she's seeing her mom again because she's been riddled with that guilt. I mean, once again, Dana blew up at her dad last episode because it's like both me and M have spent the past like 2 years riddled with guilt over mom's death, blaming ourselves, and it was you. And what did she say? It should have been you, which I said like, oh, that's a death flag. He's going to end up dying. Didn't die. Came pretty goddamn close though. But yeah, M left never knowing the truth about what happened, because that could have alleviated some of that guilt. I mean, that's why her psychosis was able to manifest itself, because she never had the clarity of that. Because he's like, oh, why was that important? It's like, your daughters were suffering, but you were trying to preserve your own, because it was your way to alleviate your own guilt. It's like, as long as they never knew, because he doesn't know if Patty knew. Like, Patricia might have known before she died the truth. So, but now also like M will never potentially know the truth. So I think that also bothers Dana. It seems like she wants to talk to her dad, but he can't bring himself to talk about it because he feels so guilty. So she's trying to keep, like, him and Coop can't be around each other because she's like, well, Coop kind of blames you for what happened to M. And it's like, I was like, I don't know if that's Dana projecting, but it might also just be like, no, Coop's like, because Coop knows his grandfather led that very like anti reviver sentiment, and it's like he knows his grandpa was like one of the main charges behind that, and it's also like he was really good friends with one Jordan, so it's like of course he probably would really feel that way, and they're obviously going to a therapist to kind of work through all that he's dealing with at a very young age. He was kidnapped, threatened, had his aunt brought back to the dad, had a friend brought back from the dad, to lose his friend, to lose his aunt. It's like, it's a lot. And also dealing with the fact is, hey, grandpa played a massive role in things playing out the way they did. It's like, it's a lot for a kid to end up shouldering, so. Then we cut to Nithya while she's getting her chemo treatment. I was like, oh, did she ever find out, like, in that 35-day period that it was, in fact, Aaron who killed Martha? I was like, does she know now? And like, how do you come to terms with that, especially now that he's gone? I was like, that's pretty heavy. But then I was like, there's no way this is just going to be wrapped up here. I mean, obviously, like, the larger thing of, well, the larger conversation of, like, well, what do we do in society now that the revivers are here and everything, right? And once again, it's just kind of getting them acclimated so that they don't feel different. But obviously, like, that's not going away because Blaine is still, speaking his rhetoric. And we don't know if his flock is still what it was. I mean, last time we saw him, he was sitting beside Tyler. Well, at the end of the episode, he's on his radio show alone, but we don't know if Tyler's sticking around because we know next to nothing about that kid. So, other than that, we also have Dana going to visit her M's roommate to get some of her last stuff, and she's like, "Yeah, you should have never told her to go to that bridge, and none of this would have happened." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "M said a friend told her to go to the bridge." She's like, "Whoa! Me and M were roommates. We didn't actually become cool until after she came back as a reviver. That episode, they kind of spent time together. It's like when they actually kind of became cool, became pseudo friends." It's like, wait, so who was she talking to then? And so she points her in a certain direction about like some messaging thing she was. And then, like, she was talking to someone, and that person was telling her, like, "Oh, you should go to the bridge, especially that night." And you're like, what's going on? And then it's not until she has May look into it, it turns out it's like, what do you know about Aaron's wife, Nithya? She was appointed M's therapist, right? It's not, she wasn't appointed that. She asked to be that. And it's like, interesting that you would ask to be the, like, that's the thing. Like, we did see her, like, you just thought it was nothing, but it's like her connection to Aaron, I guess, should have always been a giveaway because you always thought like she knew nothing, but maybe she knew a lot more. Because I was also wondering, like, maybe she knew about, I was like, did she know about Aaron's affair and this is her acting independently? Or it seems like her and Aaron were working together because she's the one that convinced her to go to the bridge that night so Aaron can do what he did. So they were definitely a team. So Aaron must have confessed to her at some point in time. Maybe that's also why she wanted to talk to M, because she felt guilty of, I'm the reason why this all happened. I'm so sorry. Like, she was definitely a willing participant in this because I guess Aaron convinced her, like, yo, we can help you with your treatment and stuff. We just have to do something bad. I'm so sorry. Because I think it was like a grief group. Like, I don't remember what that particular, like, messaging thing they were using. Like, I don't know if that was, maybe that's related to people who are going through grief or trauma or something like that. So that's all kinds of messed up, and especially if you would later on become her doctor too, and they're trying to help her through stuff with her mom too. Just once again, Aaron's on some bullshit that makes you just as kind of effed up as well. And so the episode ends like, well, Dana tries to go over to her house and she's gone. We see at her appointment she's not there either. So I was wondering, like, could she have been faking her sickness? Like, maybe she did in fact get better. Like, maybe, well, because Aaron got knocked out while the process was happening, but I'm wondering, did he get enough of it to heal her? Because once again, the whole conversation between her, because there's that conversation back in, was that episode 2, where it's like, hey, let's make everyone believe everything's going, like, everything's normal. My interpretation at the time was, oh, she died, and it's like, oh, well, you don't want people to know that she's a reviver. Now in retrospect, I was like, she's actually been getting much better, but you're covering it up. Because I think she left behind, like, her wrap around her head. I was like, oh, and it seemed like she has, like, hair when we see her again. So I think she's been faking sick. I think Aaron did bring some of that, like, what came from M to her. And then maybe that's also why she wanted to help M too, because she was like, I feel guilty because I am a willing participant and I'm getting better and I'm alive and I'm over my sickness because of you. So I don't know if that's what that is. And her and M are somewhere at the end of the episode together. And I'm like, did she use some of her, like, psychological, like, training to, like, brainwash and manipulate M? Because who knows, like, maybe Martha is a blank slate. Maybe all that she was because of what happened, that last eruption, might have left her with amnesia. And here's Nithya being like, oh, well, like, we have this connection or whatever, you know? Or maybe it's her working with M, knowing what she did, and is like, we can do something. I don't know. Nithya might have greater plans herself. It's almost, I don't know if it'd be an absolute comparison. It feels like, you know, most anyone that kind of gets their hands on Solomon Grundy in the DC universe and kind of using him as, like, their, like, undead meat shield, it almost feels like that might be what Nithya is doing with him. Like I said, it might not have any memories of who she is, or maybe she did. I have no idea. Like, that seems like that's going to be like her avenging angel in a lot of ways. That's my guesstimation on what that ending surmises. Obviously, leaves the door open for a lot. I looked into it twofold. First and foremost, I got two conflicting things when I Googled. Google has that AI thing at the top is the immediate response, but it's been a couple days, so obviously I'm getting to this late. It's like what, 5 at this very moment, 5 in the morning, Monday. This should be going up today if I get around to editing and making sure. But my point is, it's been a couple days and there has been no announcement whether or not the show is coming back for a second season. There's still plenty of story to tell, obviously, but it comes down to ratings and stuff like that. That's the main marker. So fingers crossed. The show has gotten a lot of positive reception based on what I've been reading online, apparently. But the thing is, it just always comes down to viewership. How many people are actually watching the show? So hopefully, fingers crossed. I also looked into it. It's not. I usually try to gauge. I do this specifically a lot with like anime more than anything. Like, from like a light novel to anime adaptation, or whether it's an anime to like how much was covered in the adaptation, right? Well, there's no clear answer because the show is very faithful to the comic, but it's like condensing certain storylines, and it's kind of give like things like I think it's like there's too much going on for you to like do a 1-to-1 episode by issue type of comparison, because there's a total of like 47 issues. So it's like they're telling the story, they're moving some stuff around, changing things a little bit, but still being very faithful to what like the just plot of the story is. I didn't read too much into it about what the changes were. I'll probably do that after the recording, but so I don't know where we are storyline wise. I know some there was like, was it the Mother of Babylon, which was last episode was apparently a arc from the comic, so that's something that is like a direct adaptation, but I think even then it's probably condensed. But like I said, I don't know where this stands, where this season ends, where that stands in the comic or whatever. So, but it's like I said, faithful adaptation, and they're going to make probably some changes. I was seeing something, I'm not quite sure how true this is, that was saying like there's like a 3-season plan potentially, maybe even a potential 4th. Like I said, that Google AI thing at the top, it's just an automatic thing now. Take it what you will. It kind of culminates like all different types of information to kind of give you an answer. So like I said, take that all with a grain of salt. But I mean, like I said, fingers crossed, hoping for a season 2, because I'd love to see where this goes. I mean, hopefully we get the entire story adapted, because I want to know where this goes, because especially that ending, I'm like, I got to understand like what Nithia's plan is going forward with M, how we got to where we are, like where things going, Wausau going forward, between Dana and her dad, the blame of it all, like has he given up, like I said, has he lost his flock after everything too? So we'll have to wait to see, hopefully, like I said. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.